welcome back to my self-build journey with me, Harry van Gorkum. This is part 4. If you've missed parts 1, 2 and 3, go back and look at those, and please like and subscribe if you're enjoying my journey so far, or you're not enjoying it, or you don't have any comments to make it better. Please leave comments and let me know what you think. And now here we are at part 4, which is the next step in the process, which actually usually goes parallel with buying the land because they both run side by side, is planning permission for your house on that particular plot of land that you have found. Now, in my case, it is Breckland Council, which is a local council in Norfolk. The good thing about my situation is that, as I spoke about before, the particular house that I'm wanting to build is a house by a company called Dan Wood, based out of Poland. And they have just built a house in a village called Galveston, which is in Breckland Council area. So they're aware of Dan Wood style homes, and that of course got planning permission because it was built. So I'm not worried about my particular house model being a problem as fitting the surrounding area. But I am in the countryside. I am in a very small village called Mattershall. And there are going to be certain criteria, especially ecological criteria and positioning criteria, and what kind of landscaping I'm going to do. But we'll get on to that later. The most important thing is to find the person who's going to submit your planning permission. Now, you can do it yourself. You can go online and you can download the forms. You can fill them all in accurately. You can draw up your own plans. In my case, the planning submission quote was £462 plus a £30 filing fee, so you could do it that way. Or, not recommended unless you have a CAD or a CAD drawing system to draw up your plans. Or, of course, if you have an architect who is building your house, he is the person who's going to have the perfect plans, and I would recommend using your architect to submit the plans to the council. First of all, he probably already has contacts at the council because he's probably built houses in that area before. And secondly, he has the plans. If there are any changes that he's doing to the plans during the planning process, he can just make those changes on his CAD machine to get approved by the council and do it instantaneously. So in my case, that's exactly what I did. Luckily, again, the architect who is in charge of all 6 plots, who laid out the 6 plots with the seller and is designing 2 other houses on the plots, has stepped up to cover my planning permission and draw up the plans. Now, as far as Dan Wood go, they give you very good plans anyway. They give you not fully architectural plans. That'll be after the planning permission has been accepted by Dan Wood. But just the house plans, the house footprint, like this. I'll show you. So this is basically, when you go to Dan Wood, this is the kind of thing you'll get. You'll get these kind of sheets. I'll do a close-up of this also, but you get this kind of layout of the house. Now, what the planners need from all that is, first of all, they need to know the look of your house. They need to know what colour it's going to be, what colour the windows are going to be, what the rendering is going to be, what colour the roof tile is going to be, all the visual aspects of the house. So you need to know all those aspects before you start. You need to know what kind of slate you're using. You need to know what colour window frames you're using. You need to know the colour of white rendering you're using. You need to know about your front door, about the exits, entrances, everything you're going to put, the cladding, if you're going to put any cladding on your house. All that stuff you have to work out with the architect before, so the planning knows exactly what your house is going to look like. Now, the most important thing other than that is the position of the house on the plot. Now, I am unusual in that I am not going to put my house square on. I didn't want to put my house square onto the plot. The reason I bought the plot that I bought and the size of the house I bought is that I wanted to put it at a slight angle so it gets more of the sunshine. So we agreed with the architect that the best way to do that was to put it at about 11-degree angle on the plot. Now, the advantage of having a wide plot and not such a wide house is that you have space to do that, and you still have a lot of space either side. In fact, you have a lot of space on one side of the actual plot. So that was the idea. Planning permission wise, you have to say exactly where your house is going to sit on the plot, and you have to give space for the driveway in the front. Now, driveways, you think, oh, I just need a small little driveway or a big driveway, but you're actually limited, or you can't have a little tiny driveway, because by law you have to have space for one car to come in and do a full turn, also for the refuse trucks, rubbish men, garbage men, whatever you want to call them, to come in and to drive in. So it's all to do with security and enough space for a car to come in, to back up. They even show in the diagram here again. You have a car that show a diagram of a car driving in and can back up and can move into a garage or can be parked safely. So the driveway has to be a certain size. You also have to have 1.5 meters from the house to any fencing, so there's got to be that distance. And also you've got to show any landscaping, any potential landscaping, because especially where we are in Breckland Council, the ecology department is very strong because we're in the country. So as far as landscaping goes, you have to show where your lawn's going to be, where the hedgerows are going to be, but also with these plots there's a very strict ecology code in that there's going to be a 5-meter hedge at the end of each plot with bushes and some trees, etc. And then they also want some ecology at the front of the house where the driveway goes down, so you have some trees and bushes and greenery there. You also have to show exactly on your plan where you're going to put your refuse bins. Don't know why. And so then we waited and saw what was going to happen, and now we are in planning. So the first thing they came back with, ecologically, were the 3 items that I needed that were not in the plans, which were A, the Swift box, a bat box, a sparrow platform, and hedgehog holes. Yes, hedgehog holes. So that's actually 4 things, not 3. So, bat box, you need to have a bat box in your rafters somewhere in your house for the bats to live in. Even though you don't want bats in your house, because if bats get into your roof, then you can't sell the house. You also need a swift box, which is a box, same kind of thing as a bat box, which sits in your rafters for the swifts to nest in. You also need a sparrow perch, which is a nice long bit of, perch with a little house on the end for the sparrows to land on. The fact that you're building a house with lots of roofing and lots of places for birds to sit on, no, they have a particular perch. And your hedgehogs have to have a hole, a 3-centimetre hole in any fencing you do on either side of your property, or at the end, you have to have a 3-centimetre hole for the hedgehogs to be able to go from garden to garden. Now in my case it's kind of strange that, because at the end of my garden there is a hedge, and it's kind of in the name, they're called hedgehogs. So I think they'd probably come through the hedge into my garden and go out of the hedge into my garden, because they can quite happily go through the hedgerow into each people's gardens. But you need a hedgehog holes on either side of the fence, a few. And in fact, it's such a big thing that online now you can get hedgehog signs pointing the hedgehogs to the right way. So I agreed to all that. Then they came back, and after all that, having not mentioned anything about the position of the house, said the position of the house could not be at an angle. It had to be straight on to match everything else in the street and to match every other house that there is like that. All houses are square onto the street. Which upset me a bit, or quite a lot. So in the end, my architect said, I think we're going to have to accept that. Now, I'm going to show you how I worked out the position of my house. I'll do a close-up of it. I got a large sheet of A3 paper and drew out to scale, I think it was 1/20 of the scale, the size of the plot, the driveway where it's going to be, and then I cut out a small little house like this, which is the size of my house, which is basically what it is, and put it on the page, and I'll show you that now. And I moved it around until I found the perfect position for the house, for the sun to rise, and did a sun calculation of where it's going to be. So I wasn't happy with that, because I didn't want my house straight on, because I wanted to see the views from the house, from the bedroom, from the living room, from the kitchen. I wanted to have those views across the fields, and they're better slightly at an angle. And I wanted an angle on it. I didn't want to be straight to the street. And my architect argued back that, you know, from the aerial top view, it actually looks like quite an angle, but street-wise, you're not even going to notice it. Anyway, they came back and said, no, you know, you've got to have it right angle. So I, in the end, said to them, listen, I'm not happy with this. Can you go back to them and tell them, can we have a compromise and tilt the house at 8 degrees instead of 11 degrees? The architect said no, that's probably not going to happen, but he tried anyway. Anyway, they came back and said they agreed to 8 degrees. So a message there and a note there is, keep on, don't annoy the planning permission people, but if you're really adamant about something, don't just say yes, yes, yes. Try and go back and reach a compromise and see if you can reach one, because it's really worth it. So I've got an 8-degree angle now, which is 5 degrees less than I had before, but is still enough to give me what I wanted. So that's planning permission. Next we'll move on to kitchens, because a lot of these houses you need to design the kitchen before they actually build them. So I'm going to give you some advice about all the different kitchen manufacturers I went to, all the different online design services I used, and which kitchen I came up with that gave me the best deal and the best quality kitchen. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this instalment. Please like and subscribe, leave any comments you can. This is Harry van Gorkum signing out from my self-build journey. Stay safe everyone, see you on the next one.